This is a Rogue Media Network podcast. The Waco History Podcast is sponsored by Brotherwell Brewing on historic Bridge Street in Waco.
Welcome to the Waco History Podcast. We're going to air for you over the next few months a special series of Waco History Living Stories. These were segments that were originally aired on KWBU here in Waco. They were produced by the Institute for Oral History editor, Michelle Holland, and narrated by two fabulous narrators, Louis Maze and Kim Patterson. And so these highlight oral histories from the collection of the Institute for Oral History at Baylor University, which I direct, which has been around since 1970 and has over 1,000 interviews related to Waco and McLennan County history, and we're happy to highlight those here.
Cross the Brazos at Waco, ride hard and I'll make it by dawn.
In this Living Stories vignette, some of our narrators talk about their experiences with measles and rubella, a common disease that folks would get back in the day.
Then the night came alive with gunfire. He knew.
Before their vaccines were made available, measles and rubella swept through towns every few years, mostly infecting young children. Everyone was expected to suffer through them at some point. Waco native Mary Sendón recalls her and her siblings' experience with the more serious of the two illnesses.
All of us, four of us, got measles at the same time. I was even in grammar school. I didn't get it till I was in grammar school. Mm-hmm. And I remember that my grandfather and my dad, the men really worried about the kids a lot. You'd be surprised how much attention they gave to them. But I know my grandfather got worried because my fever was way up high. And, it was so high that my nails peeled off. And he got up and went to the drugstore and tried to get something from this old Kassell's drugstore down on 8th Street, and he got the druggist to give him something to get the fever down. And they were little powders. You had to mix them in a teaspoon of water and then drink a glass of water. Fever powders, that's what they were called. And he went down and got that, and I'll tell you, we were sick for about a week, and we had to stay in a dark room, because to protect the eyes. And my grandmother was there, and my great aunt, and my father and mother, and everybody was taking care of all the sick kids. But it did affect my brother's eyes. That's why when he went into the service, they wouldn't take him because of his eyes. And of course, the draft took him and put him in the Air Corps.
Dr. Howard Williams of Orange tells how rubella, commonly known as the German measles, possibly saved his life during World War II.
I went up to Camp Atterbury in Indiana and finished my basic training there as a rifleman. And then we were all packed to go. We were in the 106th Division, and we were packed, ready to go that very week. And I got up with splotches all over me. I had measles. Germany put me in the hospital, and then there at Camp Atterbury, and the 106 left. And then after 10 days, they said the division's gone. They reassigned me. They sent me to a artillery observation battalion, and that was down at Camp Gordon, Georgia. Well, the 106 that I would have been with was one that was totally destroyed in the bulls. They were all pre-college type, and the Germans burst across the line there, and gosh, the division is like 15,000 people, and of 15,000, I think like 6 or 7,000 were killed, and another 5 or 6,000 were captured. So, had I not had German measles, I don't know what would have happened to me.
All the people you trained with?
And all the people I trained with and all, and it just disappeared.
Vaccines for measles and rubella were licensed in the U.S. in the 1960s. Since then, the number of cases has dropped by 99%, ending the role of these illnesses as anticipated life events.
Thanks for listening to the Waco History Podcast. Like what you heard? Subscribe, rate, and review our show on iTunes so we can reach more listeners. You can find show notes and info on every episode at wacohistorypodcast.com. and more info on Waco's past at wacohistory.org. Our theme music, used with permission, is Cross the Brazos at Waco, performed by the late Billy Walker. For more info on Billy's music, go to billywalker.com. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
When I reach San Antone.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.